Welcome to RSA Conference 2024. We're here recording live from Broadcast Alley in Moscone West. This interview is sponsored by Direct Defense. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me today is Jim Broome, who is the president and CTO at Direct Defense.
Thanks.
How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me, and good to see you again this year.
Yeah, we did an interview last year as well.
Yeah.
So, Mark Andreessen, when he originally said software was going to eat the world, he did a decade after that.
Mm-hmm.
He went back and revisited it and basically said he was right, except for healthcare.
Right.
And he kind of called out healthcare as the one industry that didn't quite go anywhere. You know, like you still go to, pretty much any doctor's office. You're filling out paper forms. It still feels like the dark ages, compared to everything else.
Yeah.
And they've not been having a good time when it comes
they've definitely been in the news, especially for the past month. So yeah.
So today we're going to talk about navigating ransomware threats in partnership with an MSSP, like Direct Defense, and particularly focusing on healthcare and how MSSPs can help healthcare organizations. So let's start out healthcare. There are some reasons for this, that they haven't made a whole lot of progress. Healthcare environments.
This radical thing about patient first.
FDA. It's hard to update technology in hospitals. A lot of hospitals have, and it's healthcare isn't just hospitals, but there's a lot of old technology that's very difficult to patch, to update. So what are some of the challenges here, that are specific to that?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, kind of hitting the nail on the head of we have a lot of legacy stuff.
Yeah.
We may or may not have really good network segmentation, which is one of the principles we've been talking about for forever.
Flat networks.
Yeah, extremely flat networks, or just zero trust is not a real thing in there.
Yeah.
And we also have procedural problems. So we've been working with health customers for a long time now, but specifically in the last year, with the rise of ransomware threat actors going directly against them and targeting them, what we found is, while there are processes, procedures, run books for how to operate the hospital during a natural disaster or continuation of services for patient care, they haven't really done the same due diligence when we get into cyber and just uptime availability of IT infrastructure. And so while they still have the path to go back to paper, what they haven't really thought about is what if you have a truly disaster event of your core infrastructure. And ransomware is unfortunately a real world field test of that. So.
Yeah, rebuilding, they're not doing infrastructure as code, so rebuilding infrastructure is not running a Terraform script.
No, no, and scalability is the issue. You've also just got the assumptions is the best way to kind of describe it, which is, my backups are going to work. Yeah. And as from reporting on it, as being an incident responder, your backups are the second thing they go after. And so they pretty much wipe out and destroy those. And so what has not happened at the business level of running that healthcare organization is, what's the resiliency on offsite backup? When was the last time that backup was done? And
or
is
tested.
that that's now you're getting into procedural problems. Yeah. But just what's the viability of that solution, and is it in line with the business expectation? In many cases, the answer is no. The business is like, I can't live with more than an hour missing in my gap in my data, and you find out, the last backup was a month ago. Yeah. So there's not a lot of parity or realism, and yes, we're making backups, we're taking them off site, but it's not aligned back with the business initiatives as well.
Right.
And that's core. Then we get into the things about cyber and taking care of the ransomware side of things.
Yeah, I've got some personal trauma in that in that area. I remember once doing the math with our backup tapes and the speed of restoring from backup, and realizing, if we had an incident at the absolute worst time before the next full backup, the day before the next full backup, it was something like 6 weeks to restore
every single thing.
Just our main CRM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from if we were to do DR, and that was nowhere near the BIA tier, that
exactly.
That was,
Yeah, I mean, and just that is the realm of reality, that as an incident coordinator, like, you've got to sit down with the C-suite's hand. It's like, hey, so this is how long we're looking at just to do restoration of services and get back. So when can we find these jump-off points, and why haven't we tested these in the before we got here as part of your disaster recovery business continuity plans?
So as an MSSP, where can you help here? You know?
Well, that comes back to really, that is one of our core services. From a direct defense standpoint, is, we are consultative in nature, and so we sit down with our customers and just be, this transparent.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I can help you here and here, but I might struggle because of this permission. I don't have that permission. Case in point is with this past summer with Scattered Spider, and a lot of the activity we saw there, we knew we went head to head with them on 8 different occasions.
Yeah.
We had the benefit of some really mature customers that allowed us to test some early alarms of monitoring the state of MFA and changes to downgrading from push notification or PIN code down to a phone number for text messaging. That's one of the alarms we have in our ecosystem, just looking for that downgrade attack. That was our early warning. We were able to actually identify, they were getting in successfully by doing SIM swapping of key administration staff that were still using text messaging as an option. So having that collaboration, sitting down with customers and just like, hey, here's the reality, here's the things I can do, but you need to do your side of the equation as well. If we can't eradicate text messaging as an MFA factor, at least do it for your admins, at least do it for your C-suite. Or even spinning it, specifically with the ransomware part of it is, what don't you have protected today? We have a really good partnership with a company called Halcyon. They're running around here. And they're singularly focused on ransomware. But we've seen threat actors. We do some joint work around incident response. We've seen threat actors have enough time to break into the VPN device, brute force over 25 days to get into the domain controller, and then walk around until they found the antiquated box off to the side that didn't have any modern EDR on it to protect the organization. So again, it's that kind of conversation of, hey, what's your asset awareness? Where's this? Where are we at in your program?
There's
and just
always
being
that
consultative.
box. Yeah. Especially talking about healthcare. Absolutely. Like, not only do you have the weird one-off systems that are maybe an older operating system or something like that, because the
or a bed. The hill run beds are a smart bed.
Yeah. Whatever vendor makes the product that system is connected to, doesn't work with the latest version of Windows or doesn't have drivers for something.
Or they don't even own it.
Right.
I mean, if you're not familiar with most hospitals, in hospitals, administration is all part of the main hospital organization, but on the actual ambulatory care side, it's probably outsourced to the original OEM vendor, be it GE or HP or Philips and Expert, all the way to a service provider. And so teasingly as a red teamer, it's always easy. Go read the manual because the passwords are in there.
But then I also understand that a lot of doctors are contractors essentially.
Yes.
And they will bring in their laptops, so there's a lot of BYOD.
Tablets especially.
Yeah?
Yep. So, at this day, that's a bigger conversation on just the current state of the medical industry in the United States. But yeah, a typical doctor is working for anywhere from 3 to 4 different hospitals, depending on your region and how many hospitals you have.
Yeah.
So they're running into multiple systems, and then the scariest part is, they're carrying some of that patient data into their own ecosystem for billing and things like that.
So, and it's interesting. You're saying you do have these kind of conversations with your clients. So is that just part of the managed service, or do you have consulting services as well, or just every client that comes up? Okay, we're gonna establish a baseline here.
Right.
We're gonna.
Short answer is both.
Yeah. Okay.
So we actually have penetration testing both on the traditional enterprise side as well as application is our core business.
Yeah.
Managed services actually grew from organic demand.
I gotcha.
For our clients, because we were doing so much IR work. They're like, hey, you're finding solutions that work, manage them for us. Like, all right, so that became a business line for us. And then we actually have a dedicated practice on OT SCADA and IIoT for manufacturing lines.
Yeah.
So short answer is yes. We have several ways of getting down and just being consultative to our customer, even at, over beer at a restaurant, just, hey, this is, the things you need to look at. We just recently released our threat report, which is from the managed services side. And thematically, the things we kind of talk about in there is, first part is being or providing custom alerts to clients. Making sure they get what they want from a service standpoint, not just the MDR in a box doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
But the second part of that was really, what's the themes we saw, which was, again, compromising MFA. Big threat actors were actually jumping into single sign-on and jumping out to the third-party solutions you have integrated your MFA into.
Right.
So we're definitely seeing a lot of that. And then more importantly, living off the land, those type of techniques, we all, threat hunters, we all go and create, detections for, but when you look at it at scale, how is this going, and then by vertical, what are they doing that's unique to your vertical?
Right.
And so having that conversation as well with that specific vertical. That's ultimately our approach to it.
So you're coming into a healthcare organization. They're missing just about everything.
That never happens. What? No.
Where do you even start? Obviously, they need an incident response plan.
Right.
You've mentioned MFA multiple times already, so I'm guessing you at least want to do kind of an audit of, is it enabled?
All the public-facing applications that currently don't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a common thing. We have a discovery service that we're actually doing a promo for right now, but that was actually one of the findings just recently was sitting down with a healthcare organization. They signed up for it, and it's like, yeah, I'm actually finding, it's actually from the Verizon breach report, talking about the ecosystem of the dark web reselling stolen passwords and sharing those around, and actually finding legitimate patient logins to this healthcare provider.
So you're doing some external attack surface scanning, some OSINT scanning, stuff like that. I imagine you want to know if they're already compromised.
Yep.
Like that's a big piece of it. So I imagine like is that something where you just kind of progressively work with them to put more and more controls into place?
Essentially, you're educating everybody along the way. So I mean, it's for the most part, it's just sitting down, giving them a level set of what we can do today. What's your appetite? Let's kind of build out a 12, 36-month program for you on how we can get to a more ideal state. And more importantly, sit down with the business side of this. And there is a cost. So having that conversation with what the tangible cost of actually delivering that is going to be. So.
What should healthcare CISOs be looking for in a managed solution?
Today, number one is making sure they're actually getting the coverage they need. So just, are you staffed? Do you actually have, here in the United States, just to have 7x24, you need, physically need 9 people there to wait for the red light to flash. But you need 12.
And we're talking about a SOC kind of function here?
I mean, just for someone to acknowledge that a red light flashed, yes, that is going to be a SOC conversation.
Right.
But the other part of that is really where you at in the, your insurance providers dictating what you have.
Right.
What's the quality of solutions you're currently invested in? How operationalized, to use a fun buzzword to it, but how effectively are you guys using these? Do you have high confidence alerts? Do you have this, or are you getting death by 1,000 paper cuts with 85% false positive alerts coming down and killing your poor SOC?
Yeah.
Those are all part of the just taking security and making it a real operational state for the organization.
For you guys, is partnering with cyber insurance is that a pretty important thing these days?
I mean. Yes, especially if you're into the incident response side of the house, your insurance providers are typically dictating who you have to use. Yeah. We're a little bit different. We do work with several insurance providers, but we're also a little bit different in that we're typically the advocate for the business.
Right.
Playing myself and the other colleague that actually runs the incident response team, we play disaster bingo. So the only 2 checkboxes we haven't hit off. I haven't gone through Locust in a data center yet. I haven't done that one. And he hasn't done Tsunami, but we've done everything else. Volcanic eruption, a train derailment that went through a data center.
Wow.
So just helping organizations get recovery services outside of cyber, just continuity, but taking that back to a cyber conversation of how do we get back to business? How do you take care of patients? How do you secure your data? Where is your data at? All that becomes just general conversational things, unfortunately because of experience. Yeah. But the other part of that is it actually directly talks back to the CISO on can I start answering these for myself, and can I actually have a quantified checkbox or scoring metric on where are we at from a maturity standpoint for these things.
A train through a data center. That's a new one for me. Without naming names, a very large, prominent financial institution that built a state-of-the-art campus with a data center at the end of an active runway. Oh, wow.
And they dropped unfortunately, 2 planes got dropped in the middle of the parking lot in the first month they were there.
Wow.
Yeah, so got some fun ones.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I don't think I ever accounted for that when I was in charge of DR BCP. I don't think we're close to any airports or railroad tracks.
I mean, the building was beautiful.
Yeah.
The site was beautiful, but no one did an active, risk analysis on, plane, we're in the path,
Yeah, maybe they looked at flooding, but forgot the other things.
And the derailment, we never had a problem, and literally the train came off and it moved 85 feet that way and went right through the side of the building.
Wow.
So the spindles were in the front yard. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, Jim, thank you so much for joining me on Security Weekly today.
Thanks, man.
This is great. And to learn more about Direct Defense, you can visit securityweekly.com/Direct Defense RSAC. And please head over to securityweekly.com/RSAC for more content from us live from RSA Conference 2024. And we'll be back in a few moments with another interview.
Thanks.